meeting of Akron City Council will come to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, would you please stand as we are led in prayer by Rabbi Oster Klein of Bethel El Congregation. Immediately following our prayer will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Samples.
Today began the Hebrew month of Iyar. The Hebrew word Iyar is also understood as an acronym for a verse from the book of Exodus, Ani Adonai Rofecha, I am God, your healer. We are entering a period of healing. Healing comes about with God's blessing, but it must come through our hands, our choices, our actions, our behavior in every aspect of our lives, whether on the city council, in houses of worship, or in the privacy of our homes, has the potential to do more healing rather than breaking apart. And so we ask you, God, to be our healer, to work with us in bringing peace and harmony to the city of Akron, between all people and in our own hearts. Blessed is the Holy One who listens to and answers our prayers. Together we say, Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from the April 9th, 2018 meeting. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. All members were present except Amobian, later excused. Reading of petitions and communications. Passage of the consent agenda. Report of standing and special committees. Passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions. Representation from various departments and divisions. Public speaking period. No further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 9:01 p.m. to reconvene in regular session on April 16th or special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Letters, petitions, and communications.
Okay. Petition of the House of the Lord for conditional use to install signage in excess of the code requirements at 1650 Diagonal Road.
File.
Petition of Cheryl Dalka for conditional use to retain a solid fence within the setback at 1522 Malaysia Road.
File.
Petition of Oriana House for conditional use to establish a training and research center at 815 to 833 Carroll Street.
File.
Petition of Rodney Porter for a conditional use to establish Val's Crane and Equipment Rental LLC and to construct a new building at 1081 Eastwood Avenue.
File.
Petition of Antonio and Davina Preston for conditional use to establish a child daycare center at 2196 Eastgate Commons Drive.
File.
5 letters objecting to the 2018 arterial collector resurfacing per resolution 87, 2018.
File.
1 letter objecting to the 2018 unimproved street resurfacing per resolution 97, 2018.
File.
2 letters objecting to the 2018 residential resurfacing per resolution 98, 2018.
File.
Correspondence regarding the Tobacco 21 legislation.
File.
Return showing service, notice of a special assessment for an arterial collector and resurfacing program as per resolution number 76, 2018.
File.
Anonymous correspondence regarding the Ford Motor Company.
File.
Notice of a new D3, D1 liquor permit to Rubber City Haunted House LLC 1282 Triplet Boulevard.
Special attention, Councilwoman Samples.
Notice of a new D1 liquor permit to Rubber City Haunted House, LLC, 1282 Triplet Boulevard.
Special attention, Councilwoman Samples.
Notice of a new D5 liquor permit to Sports Drink and Lounge, LLC, 1438 Copley Road.
Special attention, Councilman Neal.
Notice of a new C1, C2 liquor permit to Wayne Dawson, doing business as the East Side Market, 462 South Arlington.
Special attention, Councilwoman Samples.
Notice of a new D1, D3, D3A, and D36 liquor permit to 818 LLC, 1800 Merriman Road.
Special attention, Councilman Keith.
That's it.
We have before us the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay. Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Before we go into our public hearings, we actually have some special guests here with us on this evening. Is Michelle Wilson here from Global Ties? If you'll please approach the podium and introduce our special guests for us.
Hello, I'm Michelle Wilson with Global Ties Akron, and we have with us today a very special delegation that we're partners with from Serbia. And we know one of our council members is Serbian here. So our group is here under sponsorship from the U.S. State Department, and we're working with a national organization, World Learning. We applied for a competitive program. We were narrowed down, Global Ties Akron and our partner here from Creative Group Serbia, as one of 12 semi-finalist organizations. We were then matched together and applied with our partner from Serbia. With Ristina here as our leader on the other side of the team. And we were awarded one of 6 global partnerships to launch a new project initiative. So our project, we invite you all to come join us on Sunday, this coming Sunday, at the Akron Art Museum. There's free admission for people who are coming to our launch event from 1 to 2. And then 2 to 3, they'll be mixing and mingling in the lobby. And then 3 to 5, we're going to be doing our worldwide launch of a new online magazine, Global Threads. And our launch edition here in Akron will feature our Bhutanese Nepali community and how they preserve their culture, even though they've come from all the way across the world, through their heritage languages, through their performing arts, through visual arts, and through cuisine. So we'll have some free samples, we're going to have music and dance, and you'll be able to see the launch of this new global initiative. So we're very proud and happy to have our Serbian partners here with us to launch our event, and they've been all over our community, and they'll be with us for another 10 days. So we've been visiting with a lot of our arts community and other business launch communities, because they're very much working across the country of Serbia on how can you launch creative enterprises and sustain them and really work towards this being community economic development and valuing our cultural heritage preservation. So just a quick introduction here. We have Christina, George, Ivana, Duka, and Mariana. And the return visit, we will be taking a team of 5 to Serbia in May to help launch the Serbian edition of Global Threads. We had a competition where students from our universities applied to go through a training for student journalism, and we selected 8 who went through the process and wrote the articles that will be featured in our launch edition. Out of that 8, we selected 2 who are going to Serbia to represent Akron with us, and we're taking Puspa Gajmir from Himalayan Music Academy as a cultural liaison from the Nepali-speaking Bhutanese community here in Akron. Ultimately, we would like to continue this as a sustainable effort to feature our multi-ethnic communities and to help drive people to the businesses to help support this growth in our community. And we hope to partner with other cities nationally and internationally as part of this process. So thank you so much for welcoming us tonight, and we hope to see you all on Sunday at the Akron Art Museum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle Wilson, and welcome to Akron, and we hope you enjoy your stay while you're here. Thank you. You're welcome. We'll now move back into our old business. Rules, Councilwoman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. We would like time.
Time will be granted. We have 5 public hearings this evening. If there's anyone here in the audience that is here to speak at any 5 of those public hearings, I'm going to ask that you please stand at this time so that you can be sworn in by our law department. Anyone here to speak at any of the 5 public hearings?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Say, I do. Thank you.
Okay. Public hearing number 1, a legal notice. Notice hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron, April 16, 2018, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing text change to the zoning code and an amendment to the zoning map to expand the boundaries of the UPD-40 district.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. The Ward 1 Councilman, Richard Swirsky, has requested the investigation of revising the UPD-40 use classification. This area is also known as Victorian Village. This area was rezoned to UPD-40 in 1991 to encourage small-scale retail and office reuse of the existing structures, which would then lead to restoration of some of the structures to widen interest in the neighborhood as an historical area. While some of the goals and objectives, such as mixed use, have occurred sporadically over the last 26 years, this area has not been developed to its full potential. The name Victorian Village would be changed to West Hill Village. This name change better recognizes the area as a desirable live-work community. The planning staff, in conjunction with the West Hill Community Development Corporation, proposes the expansion of its original boundaries and dividing the UPD-40 district into 2 areas. Area B is between South Maple and Glendale, was created to allow for new business uses mixed in with the already permitted 2-family and apartment house development. The new 2-family or apartment developments are still not permitted in Area A, which would expand to Hall Street to the west. Furthermore, the development requirements were updated to allow for more flexibility. Highlights of the proposed changes include shifting review and oversight of new construction and demolition to the highly active West Hill CDC, as well as Urban Design and Historic Preservation Commission. It would permit desired neighborhood-oriented retail uses that are compatible with residential uses. It would restrict alcoholic beverage sales unless made on premises, and adding vineyard and wineries as permitted uses. It would encourage development to conform to the neighborhood's existing urban form by promoting walkability and relaxing on-site parking and setback requirements. The goal of these changes is to re-energize this vital historical neighborhood, which is harmonious with the City of Akron's plan to grow Akron. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? We're just going to ask that you approach the podium, if you can give us your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Snyder. My address is 1458 Edgemore Avenue in Akron. I own real estate in the Victorian Village, or what was called the Victorian Village, at 36 South Maple, and I manage a few properties within the district. I'm really happy that people are paying attention to this area once again. This was my mother and I's dream 26 years ago, to turn this little neighborhood into an urban bohemian artsy district, and it's kind of disappointing that it really didn't happen, but if I live long enough, maybe it will. So I'm really hopeful that by paying attention to this neighborhood again, it'll revitalize the usage of the properties. And I'm happy to report that one of the properties that I owned in the neighborhood just transferred from me, a landlord, to homeowners, which I'm very happy for. We've got a nice young couple moving into the neighborhood who plan to call it their home. So this is the kind of stuff that I've lived to see happen, and I'm really hope for the future of the neighborhood. So I'm in favor of more attention to the neighborhood and more development within it. Thank you.
And my name is Tom Crane, and I've been a renter in West Hill. I'm on Maple Street, kind of right by the fire station. Been there for about 6 years. And very coincidentally, when I was working on my master's degree, when I lived in Minnesota in the St. Paul area, I lived in a very similar neighborhood. I won't tell you how long ago that was, but I was in an area where I was going to a local university, and there was the downtown, and then there was a very upscale, historic neighborhood, and I lived in what's called the Grand Avenue neighborhood, and that was an area that crime-ridden, crumbling, they were tearing houses down, and they decided the only way to save it was to make it they called it a B2 zone, meaning they allowed residents and even renters to hang a shingle on the first floor of the homes, and it turned the neighborhood around. I was there for 4 years. They also had a festival, and now it is like the place to be. And so I just think it's very coincidental that I went through that experience there, and I'm very much looking forward to the same kind of transition that this type of thing could do for the neighborhood, which I've noticed more houses are being torn down, there's kind of more trash, it's getting to be very untidy in the neighborhood, so I'm thinking that this could really be a great thing to turn it around.
Good evening, my name is J.T. Buck. I reside at 108 South Maple Street, and I'm here to speak, of course, on behalf of the expansion of the UPD 40, living right in the middle of it. When I moved back to Akron about a year ago, the first order of business was to find a place that I could live and work, knowing full well that all I had to my name was the stuff that was inside my 2007 Chevy Aveo. Plus a skill set and 20 years worth of relationships here in Greater Akron that I cultivated as an independent artist all those years. So how do I take what I had to work with, plant it somewhere in a way that it could actually grow? Well, I found the UPD 40. Found this lovely building for sale at 108 South Maple. And because of not only what I was bringing in my Chevy Aveo, but also because of the unique opportunity provided by the house, the property, and the zoning, I was able to attract the investment necessary that somebody who had no collateral could find a way to acquire the house affordably, move in and begin working. And we've already made tremendous progress in terms of getting the property cleaned up and activated, and have a great plan going forward for the next few months to do nice small DIY events, things that really connect to the community. If I were to take you on a tour of this UPD 40, we would start at Akron Family Restaurant. We would swing by St. V. We would swing by Snyder Realty and say hello. We would pass the big red house that I'm living in currently and see the beauty that's there. We would maybe help clean up the Glendale steps and wave hi to the firemen as they're jogging past. We would stop in and see the 100 or so kids who are learning music, dance, art, theater, and hydroponic growing at the Salvation Army. And we would stop for a nice maple donut at Krispy Kreme while waving hi to our ancestors at Glendale Cemetery. The neighborhood is already a thing, but the unique value proposition is that it's the perfect home for people like me who have a creative skill set but not a lot of resources to plant something small and let it grow. The people who already live in West Hill, there are a million of us who have kitchen table and garage businesses who are looking for a way to catalyze those. And as a matter of fact, there are 3 people moving into the neighborhood from out of town who I just recruited who will be acquiring space on let's see, what is this, May 1st. And they're coming up from Knoxville with their RV, and they're excited about the opportunity that awaits them there. So I think that the neighborhoods around us, the neighborhood we're in, especially as Oak Park and North Side and the Akron Zoo area, Lane Worcester, all reactivate. There's a great connective tissue that could be catalyzed by expanding this zoning. I'm living proof of that, and I want to help drive it. So give us this tool and let us get to work. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Karen Noel. I'm the Vice President of the West Hill CDC, and we are very excited about the possibility of more neighbors participating in this idea and starting their own businesses. I wanted to make sure that the council knows that the West Hill CDC is very much behind this, and we are very thankful for the leadership of our Board Councilman Rich Swirsky in the Planning Department. It's been a 2-year process, but it's been a very smooth process. I've learned a lot, and I want to offer anything that I know to any other neighborhood that would like to do this, because every other neighborhood needs this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in the audience to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Is there anyone here to speak against? Okay, seeing none, we'll close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, President Somerville, I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Mobian, Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Aye.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you, President. This is, would also like to add Councilman Swirsky's name as a co-sponsor of this legislation.
Okay.
And also, this is this afternoon during committee, we talked about this particular unique situation here that the community has brought to us, basically. And there is such a thing as a redo to one of our neighbors out there who mentioned in 1991, that was whenever this was first voted on by this council, and it was called the Victorian Village at that time. But now, this plan is being updated, and as you heard, it's being driven by the community. And so the Planning Commission recommended approval. I know the Ward Council person is excited about this, and I recommend we approve this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Swirsky, you have any comments?
Yes, briefly. First, just want to, I guess, in terms of thank yous, I should start with Barb Snyder. Thank you for initiating this years ago, and then to Karen Noel for sort of picking up the spirit and or the spear and waging the battle to make it happen, and a receptive city government that listens to citizens, that welcomes community-driven proposals, that provides expertise and professionalism where there's already energy and enthusiasm. Thank you so much. I'm very confident that this example will be something, once people seeing it as a catalyst for growth and for social relationships, community building, and economic development at the grassroots level, that this might be an example that, while it wouldn't fit everywhere, might be able to be applied and learned from and used in possibly other neighborhoods. So thank you so much, beginning with Barb Snyder and Karen and others and the city, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amovian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Public hearing number 2. Legal notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, April 16, 2018, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers, 166 South High Street. A upon an ordinance authorizing a text change to the zoning code and the amendment to the zoning map to expand boundaries of the UPD-40 district.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. This ordinance amends the zoning map by extending the West Hill Village boundaries west across Hall Street, and both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? Seeing none, we'll close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Mobian? Kamer? Neal? Swirsky? Aye.
Any objections? Seeing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is basically the same description as before. This is expanding that actual, the original map, and I assume that Mr. Swirsky like his name added to this as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay. Public hearing number 3. Legal notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, April 16th during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Council Chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing text change to the zoning code and amending to the zoning map to expand the boundaries of the UPD-40 district.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Yeah, this amends the zoning map by extending the West Hill Village boundaries to the south between South Maple Street and Glendale Avenue. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? Seeing none, we'll close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco?
Thank you, President Somerville. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Mobian? Kamer? Neal? Swirsky?
Aye.
Any objections? Seeing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. Same description as before, and I'm sure Mr. Swirsky like his name added. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call on final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Public hearing number 5. Legal notice hereby given that a hearing will be...
You're on number 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4. Okay, a little bit of a hurry. Legal notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron April 16, 2018, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a child daycare business center at 340 Ira Avenue.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Letha Harris Beasley is requesting permission to establish a child daycare business center at this location. Care will be provided for a maximum of 12 children. No changes are proposed for the interior or the exterior of the house. Besides the petitioner, one other person is employed at the daycare. A play area is located behind the house. The state of Ohio recently revised its child care rules, and any approved provider with up to 12 children is now considered to be a Type A home. Earlier this year, the petitioner received Board of Zoning Appeals approval for 9 children. The request for 12 children would coincide with her state license. Planning staff is of the opinion that providing care for up to an additional 3 children would not significantly raise the level of activity on the property nor have a detrimental effect on nearby homes. Providing quality daycare services is beneficial to the entire city, and the planning staff and planning commission supports this request subject to conditions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? Seeing none, we'll close our public hearing.
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Mobian, Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. The petitioner will be required to submit and to comply with the conditions that are outlined here. The Planning Commission recommended approval along with the department, and the ward council person is in favor, so we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay, public hearing number 5. Legal notice. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, April 16, 2018, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a child daycare business center at 937 Dover Avenue.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Daniel Long is requesting permission to establish a daycare business center at this location. Hours of operation will be from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. Depending on the number of children he has on premises, a part-time employee will be used. No changes to the exterior or signage is planned. Petitioner has been operating Mr. Dan Daycare at his prior residence for over 6 years. The petitioner wishes to operate to the maximum allowance provided by his state license for 12 children. Since the daycare activities will be conducted indoors and a nearby park will provide outdoor playtime, the proposed use should not be intrusive to neighboring properties. The daycare will provide needed service to the neighborhood, and both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Anyone here to speak against? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Mobian, Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Aye.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This in essence is the same explanation in terms of this person has agreed to comply with the conditions, and the ward council person is in favor, as well as the Planning Commission and the department recommend approval.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. The committee would like to file items 6 and 7. These are the petitions for the conditional uses we just voted on.
Okay. Items 6 and 7 will be filed.
Time on the balance.
Time will be granted. Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
It's already been read in. I can read it in again if you'd like. All right.
We don't have to, so we don't think it's necessary. Madam President, the committee's report is favorable, and we ask for its passage.
Very good. Are there any comments?
Yes, I thank you for that. There are a number of people here I certainly would like to thank for our leadership. Mrs. Tamika Rose, will you stand? Our health equity ambassador has garnered a lot of support from the community. We have in the audience our public health commissioner, Donna Skoda, who has been a big help to us. We had Dr. Kramer, Kane, who drove here from outside of Columbus today to testify. Please stand and be recognized. And we had experts from all three hospitals, 2 cardiologists, one from City, one from Cleveland Clinic, Akron General, and one from Children's Hospital. And we had an excellent panel. I don't know if Corey is here tonight. Is Corey here? Oh, Corey Kendrick, who I first heard about this from as a member of the SSAB. And we had an excellent number of individuals here this afternoon. One expecting young mother who testified that she stopped smoking 8 months ago. She's about 8.5 months pregnant. And another young mother who had a beautiful son. I think everybody was trying to steal him. And he's about 5 months old, and she stopped smoking before she had him. And just a number of individuals. I don't know if there's anybody else I need to recognize, but we had a lot of support to come down. And I had the privilege of attending Councilman Mikovich's ward meeting last week, and I just happened to talk about this, and I think there was more support in the audience than there was against it. And I have talked to some people, as others around the horseshoe. And this afternoon, as we've had in previous meetings, a lot of discussion, a lot of education, and I think we're at the point that we are ready to take a vote.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Roll call.
Okay, roll call. Freeman. Aye. Fusco.
Yes.
Hoag. Nay. Kamer.
Nay.
Keith.
Nay.
Kilby.
Aye.
Milkovich.
Aye.
Mosley Samples. Neal.
Aye.
Amobi. Sims. Somerville.
Aye.
Swirsky.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. The legislation passes 8-3 with 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Councilman Freeman?
I just, because there's more folks here this evening and there's obviously support, something was brought up this afternoon, and I just want to challenge our council to think about this. There's pending legislation in Columbus that is educational and punitive. Anyone that is smoking inside an automobile with a child 6 years of age or under, there can be a $500 fine imposed. And what we've passed this evening is a good thing, but what we passed this evening doesn't address a 6-year-old that's in the back seat when mom or dad or Uncle Ned is puffing away. They have no choice in the air that they breathe whatsoever. So I hope in the future that this council would take that into consideration. It's been defeated at least 2 or 3 times in Columbus, but that would be a big step for us, and I think it would just speak in volumes to what we've done here this evening. So, kind of a come on team, let's think about this, all right? Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman. We're now going to move into our new business. Another comment, Councilwoman Sims?
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, want to echo the sentiments of all that's accumulated over the last several weeks. We've had this conversation. I appreciate the work of the experts who came out. I appreciate the work of our ambassador, I believe, who really tried really hard to get the synergy that we need. On his face, and I think I can speak freely for those who have either abstained or said no to this piece, we believe in the premise. I think the approach is where we're concerned about whether we're getting at the thing that we believe we want to get at. So again, to submit that one is either part of the problem or part of the solution, I don't think that that is a fair statement. I think it is the most inappropriate statement because I think that what occurred around this horseshoe were just legislators doing their due diligence to do what's in the best interest of all of the city. Whether I agree with whether you drink or whether I agree with whether you smoke or whatever you do, I think it's our responsibility that we weigh all aspects of that. And I think that's what occurred. I just wanted to go as a point of clarity and of record. I do support real efforts that impede our young people from starting to smoke and providing the necessary assistance to those who are desiring to quit smoke. I said before, I'm a reformed smoker. I know the difficulties, but I know there seems to be something missing that we need to add to this. So I just wanted to rise and say that, Madam President, because we do support the overall wellness and health of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sims. Mayor Horgan?
I guess just to address a couple of things. One, I want to thank everybody who was supportive, and even the arguments against. I can certainly understand them. And the overall impetus, though, is to attack, and I want to really thank Tamika Rose and Linda for leading these efforts to be able to do that, is to address infant mortality efforts in and around the entire community. But you have to start somewhere. And whether this is a complete effort to be able to address overall health in the city, it is a building block. It is part of a program that this city is trying to implement to take care of all of its citizens from sun up to sundown. So I want to thank you for your support on this effort. And Mike, you make a very good point. At some point, we're going to have to come back and see how this fits in with other efforts to be able to do that. And we all know a lot of people who have smoked forever, and it's very difficult, and even if there's an addiction in their family. But we need to start somewhere. And this was a good start for us to be able to do this and to be able to address this and get that education and get those cessation efforts and everything to get people to not start. It addresses, it's not complete, and I don't think any piece of legislation is completely complete without some tinkering back and forth. But I really appreciate all of you taking a stand to be able to do it. And those of you that didn't agree, I can certainly understand the arguments for it. And that's what this is about. This is a back and forth, and that's the way the legislative process works. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Horgan. Any other comments?
Good evening. My name is Donna Scott. I am the Health Commissioner. On behalf of the Board of Health, citizens of Summit County, I want to thank you. I want to thank you. We are lucky enough in our lifetime, we're going to live through two events. 2006 smoke-free legislation, and this as well, will make a huge difference in the number of smokers in Summit County, and I think we should all be proud of that. And there is more work to be done. This is just the beginning, but I assure you every day we will get up and work as hard as we humanly can to make Summit County a healthier place to live. Thank you again.
Thank you again, Ms. Scota, for all your help on this. We're now going to move into our new legislation, public service.
1 second there.
President Somerville, there was one other person approaching.
Who is it? This isn't the time.
He was.
This isn't the time, is it? I don't know his name. No, public comment.
He was here this afternoon in support of it, so I don't know if you...
If he can, he's more than welcome to have comments during public comment period. Yeah,
Okay.
So please share at that point, okay?
Okay, item number 1, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the purchase and application of asphaltic concrete, pavement removal, and riser rings for various streets in the 2018 arterial collector resurfacing program, including alternates, approving specifications therefore, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're requesting suspension of the rules this evening.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you very much. We will have 3 pieces, one right after another, that will come into play here. They are all, actually, you will hear the clerk reading exactly the same thing on all three pieces. This is part of our resurfacing project. As we know, we have expanded it to do many more streets than we have for a number of years. Thank goodness to issue 4. So with that, the committee would like to see it voted on this evening in passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 2, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the purchase and application of asphaltic concrete, pavement removal, and riser rings for various streets in the 2018 Streets Resurfacing Program, including the alternates, approving specifications therefore, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, the committee has a favorable report, and we are requesting suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you very much. Once again, this is for our resurfacing project.
The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 3, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the purchase and application of asphaltic concrete, pavement removal, and riser rings for various streets in the 2018 unimproved street resurfacing program, including alternates, approving specifications therefore, and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Keith?
Thank you again, Madam President. Once again, the committee has a favorable report. We are requesting suspension of the rules to vote on this and passage this evening.
Thank you. Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. There's no more to say, but thank you so much if we could just vote.
The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 4, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service to enter into an LPA agreement with the Ohio Director of Transportation for the Safe Routes to School 2018 program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you very much, Madam President. We are going to ask for this to be placed on the consent agenda, but I publicly need to apologize to Nicholas Meyer because he is a young man with a very bright brain, and I might have not acted like that this afternoon. This $490,000 grant that we are going for ODOT, we are only responsible for $30,000 of it. So this will do much to continue our efforts to make any child's walk to and from school safe. And Nick has put a lot of time and effort into this. And so with that, the committee would like it on the consent agenda.
Thank you. So this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 5, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for and accept, if awarded, a grant from the Gertrude F. Orr Trust Advised Fund of the Akron Community Foundation to cover printing expenses associated with Marcy's Law and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is to place this item on consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 6, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Oriana House Incorporated for confinement, rehabilitative services, and alternate sentencing options for certain offenders convicted of violations in the Akron Municipal Code and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is to place this item on consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 7, offered by Neal. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Neighborhood Assistance to enter into a contract with the Northeast Ohio Basketball Association for the management, promotion, and operation of the Drew Joyce Classic and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Neal?
Madam Chair, the committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This is, I think the 13th year that the city supported this event. It's a great event that brings sometimes as many as 500 teams to the region. I think for the region, it's also somewhere in the neighborhood of a little over $4 million economic impact, and for that, we're asking for its passage.
Okay, thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you. We will now go to the portion of our meeting we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to this council during this time, may approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, then state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here on tonight that would like to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Buchanan. I was here a week ago with a group of people at an area called Second Chance Village. I brought with me then a group of papers, which was a petition of over 600 signatures. I came tonight to find out, is there a process or it means that I might be able to submit these petitions, signatures, to the council for your perusal, and maybe hopefully get some kind of favorable decision from the council in regards to the conditional use clause that's affecting Second Chance Village.
Thank you so much, Mr. Buchanan. What we'll do after the meeting, you can get with our clerk, Mr. Bob Keefe, and he'll take those petitions for you, okay?
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period?
Madam Chairperson and members of the council, I'm John Beatty, B-E-A-T-Y, in Ward 8, 2047 Wyndham Road. I wanted to talk about fire plugs, and I can't take up too much time because Mr. Keith is watching me very closely. But one of the hardest things that I ever had to do when I was a pastor in Cleveland was to perform a funeral for my lay leader whose wife did not stop smoking when she was pregnant for her child. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I'm grateful to the council for doing what you did tonight. About fire plugs, 7 points. Campaign contributions affect public policy and decisions. Huge campaign contributions have a deep impact on public decisions. They're not so much gifts to a friend, rather they are investments intended for positive returns on the investment. In other words, pay to play. Mayor Horgan was blessed in the last election with the highest amount of campaign contributions in the history of the city. Of those contributions, the Tamarios family's campaign contributions stand out with over $3,000 given. Last week, council voted 11-1 for advertising for bids to renew a very expensive effort to paint more of our fire plugs. I believe Tamarios Incorporated has done a poor job of painting the first batch of Akron fire plugs. I have 2 printed pictures here that I wish to give you, that if you could pass these around, they kind of show, and I have about a dozen other pictures of about a dozen fire plugs in my block, one of which is across the street from our council person at large, Mrs. Amobi. I believe, surely, we can save money as a city government and spread our outreach to perhaps volunteers like myself Perhaps to Summit County Jail trustees who would love to get out in the sunshine and give back to our community? Perhaps to young inner-city men and women desiring and looking desperately for a job? I think we can do better than what we have done with the first batch of fire plugs. Please, please, think outside of the box. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Beatty.
If anybody wants to see my cell phone, just give it back to me at the end. Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period?
My name is Steve Nome, N-O-M-E. My address, 1928 6th Street, Cuyahoga Falls. I'm here again to speak about the retirees' insurance concerns. I read in the paper, when I read the what the ruler of the arbitrator regarding the police thing, that an analysis had been performed by NFP Consulting in March 2016. So last week on April 12th, I made a public records request to review that analysis. Apparently their findings led to the exclusion of spouses from city health coverage, city health insurance coverage. Now, since the suggestion of the Blue Ribbon Task Force regarding legacy costs was not implemented in the manner that they had recommended, I wondered what NFP's analysis really revealed. And my question to you is, have any of you seen this analysis? Raise a hand if you have. I've heard that the city's making it more difficult for individuals to obtain public documents. I don't see the law director here, or do I? Oh, okay, I just don't see her. That's my mistake. So I'm hopeful that I won't have trouble finding out more about this analysis. I said it seems ironic that today, if you look at your calendar, they call it Emancipation Day, which marks the anniversary of the signing of the Compensated Emancipation Act, which freed more than 3,000 slaves from the District of Columbia. But I'm here to talk about another segment of our local population whose freedom is being curtailed by a local government. On February 23rd this year, as I had requested, I received a list of all the retirees, spouses, and dependents whose names were submitted to OPRS so the city would know if they were eligible for city insurance coverage. Now, the list contained individuals, the names of individuals over the age of 65, and that shouldn't be a concern for the city because Medicare takes over from them. Nevertheless, a count of the spouses targeted by the city reveals that 191 are women, or about 84%, and 16%, or about 31, are men. So even though the city did not make an effort to determine how much it would cost to provide these spouses with insurance, they felt it was okay to blame the small, primarily female segment for the city's financial troubles and take away their access to affordable health.
You have about 30 seconds, sir.
Okay. City's been less than honest, acted in bad faith, and my question is the city going to go with the binding arbitration ruling or fight it? But certainly there need to be adjustments in the insurance costs, but the city can make these changes. They can operate honestly and openly, and they can work with the unions and the retirees to make sure this happens.
Thank you, Mr. Knoll. Anyone else wishing to speak during public comment period? Seeing none, we'll close our public comment period and move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman Keith. Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman. Planning, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilwoman Keith. Public Utilities, Councilwoman Samples. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. Economic Development, Councilwoman Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky. Is there anything else coming before council? Is there a second? All in favor?
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Mario Somerville, President of Council, presiding. Better change that one. Wait a minute.